Welcome to the first episode of Meet the Pros by Wicked Good Property. In this series, we sit down with local real estate experts for some great conversations. Today, we're talking with Sur Roberts from Realty of Maine. Based in Bangor, Sue's become a fan favorite with her fun, folksy, homemade listing videos that have taken off online. Check out a few of her clips.
Some people think they have to have their ducks in a row before contacting me. That's just not true.
Thinking of selling? Here are my top 5 tips on how to prep your home for sale.
Make sure all your light bulbs are the same color. Make sure to do any needed repairs. Pre-pack. Leave only the necessities. Be sure to depersonalize. Make sure to declutter all of your surfaces.
We caught up with Sue at Mossy Ledge Spirits, a local micro distillery in Etna. After enjoying our pizza, we headed up to the loft to chat with Sue about her background, her journey into real estate, and how she started creating her own unique videos. Welcome, everybody, to Meet the Pros here on Wicked Good Property, our YouTube channel. We thank you for joining us, and we thank our first pro. What a great start that we have to this segment. We're joined today by Sur Roberts of Realty of Maine. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So obviously we've got a lot to cover, but before we dive right into kind of the real estate aspect of your career, when we talked in pre-production, you talked about kind of your career path prior to realty, and you started pre-pandemic about 2019, you told me. But prior to that, you had a very interesting business that you had going on. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then kind of how those skills that you fostered in that career path kind of translated to realty?
Sure. So before I started with real estate, I couldn't find a job that interested me, that gave me the hours I wanted, and that honestly gave me the money that I wanted.
Sure.
So I made up my own. And when I set my mind to something, I do it. Yeah. And what I ended up doing is I found discontinued products, and I found regional products, and I found products at different trade shows, and I brought them to the Amazon marketplace. So I was a merchant on Amazon. Yeah. And I did that for about 10 years. Yeah. And then it ran its course, and I got my real estate license.
Awesome. Did you find that there were like skills that like you developed like doing that really lend itself useful to realty?
Oh, I think so. The biggest one is making things happen. Sure. I found a problem, and I found different ways, creative ways to solve that problem. And I started from nothing, and I built something successful with that Amazon business. Yeah. And I did the same thing with real estate. I started not doing real estate, and I've built a pretty successful real estate business with some fabulous clients and some fabulous stories.
Awesome. That's exactly what I was talking about, really kind of starting from scratch, so to speak, and building yourself. And so that's amazing. Kind of fast forwarding to now, one of the things that kind of put you on our radar is the use of video to market your listings. In fact, I'm willing to bet people watching at home have probably stumbled upon some of your social media content. Yeah. I remember you telling me that video wasn't something that you necessarily came by naturally. It wasn't your natural wheelhouse. Nope. What was it like? What was your journey like into the video realm? What was the impetus to doing something that maybe you weren't so comfortable with at the start?
Oh, sure. I was terrified of it at first, and I resisted it for a long time. When I first started at Realty of Maine, the owners of the company right there in the training, they told us, you need to do video. You need to do video. People will see you. They'll recognize you. They'll want to work with you. And I was like, oh no, I'm not doing video, right? That's scary. I can't do it. And I'm still uncomfortable on video, but I started to do it, and, I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, Sue, but those first 2 questions made me a little thirsty. There's some great answers there. I think this might be a good time to welcome in Jesse from Mossy Ledge.
Sure.
Mossy Ledge to come in, and I believe he's got some spirits for us to try.
That sounds great.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Great, Jesse. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Let me just slide that in right there. This one here. So this is the tasting you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
And what I've got you here is some of our popular flavors, and especially this time of season. You're going to work from the tip back to the handle, and you'll see that I'm just going to slide this. So what we've got our toasted coconut, which is really popular. It's a lot like, some of the other coconut drinks that you might run into. It is our best seller, second only now to the blood orange, which is our most recent release.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the blood orange is so versatile and fun.
Yeah.
You can mix it with hot chocolate and make a Tootsie Roll. You can,
Oh, wow.
you can put it on ice with a little splash of cream, and
Yeah.
it's the creamsicle. So
Yeah.
it's a really delicious thing and fun.
Neat.
All of these
Sounds
are
amazing.
40 proof. The sugar level is the same in all of them. So it's just the flavors that are changing up in those, and they're all natural flavors. When you get down to the cinnamon, which is the third one, that's steeped right on cinnamon sticks. So it's going to be more like a spiced cinnamon, not a hot ball cinnamon.
Sure. Okay.
Also goes great with the apple cider, and our local orchard that we get our cider from is also where we get it to make our apple brandy with too, which goes nice with that as well.
Nice.
You get down to the peppermint cordial. I consider that at a level of like candy cane.
Okay.
So it's not hostile. It's a nice balance. And I think you'll like that.
It's like you're taking us through the seasons here. I like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, as we get down to this end, you're kind of playing around with all sorts of things that go really good with the hot chocolate, which is funny.
Yeah.
All of these do. I don't know how the birch beer would go, but that stands alone. That one is probably one of my favorite flavors. So it tastes like you're eating a birch root beer barrel candy.
Oh, wow.
And so when you sip on that one, like I say, all these are 40 proof. It's a little splash sample. You guys take your time.
Sure.
And try things over. I want to get some reaction. I'm
Okay.
curious.
So this is the toasted coconut. you
Toasted
said, right?
coconut.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a lot of drinks that are popular with that. One of them is our Mossy Ledge Breeze. We take that with orange juice and a splash of cranberry. It's just delicious.
I'll be honest with you. I am not someone that loves, liquor in general, but that is delicious.
So this is kind of one of those, if you don't like the flavor of alcohol,
Yeah.
like the burn of alcohol, all of our cordials, we have 9 flavors altogether, and all of those cordials fall right into that category.
Wow.
So they're really easy on ice, and like I say, there's so many different drinks that we can make with them. The list is endless.
It's amazing.
But you guys enjoy, and I'm going to leave you to it. All right.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, Sue, but I'm ready to kind of dive right back into our talk here.
Let's
So,
do it.
kind of continuing on that social media video trend. Obviously, we talked earlier about your resistance to video, and it wasn't something that you came to naturally. But now that you've kind of seen that success, it's something that you've kind of you've become a little bit more accepting to, and you see that value in it. And I guess kind of coupled with that, what is the kind of the Sue Roberts that people don't see on the video? Can you share a little bit of that behind the scene?
Sure. So every time I do a video, I still have to sort of get myself ready for it, right? It does not come easy for me to do it. I have a helper. She can't be here tonight.
Sure.
She's sick. But it definitely is easier when she's with me. She helps me get more comfortable. She makes me smile. She makes me more accepting when I make mistakes. And I'm actually more comfortable leaving some of my mistakes in the video. Whereas before, when I first started, I wasn't going to leave any mistakes in. They had to be perfect, which was, oh my gosh, it was crippling because I would retake it over and over and over. And the more I redid the video, the worse it got.
Yeah.
Because it was just more rehearsed
Sure.
and it just sounded awful and looked awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're still hard to do. But I'm starting to embrace more of the awkward, letting it come out.
Sure.
And we just did one video recently where we had some bloopers, and we actually put them at the end of the video, and
Love
I
it.
let that happen. And so I'm going to do a little bit more of that because it's actually kind of funny, and it, I think, is going to help encourage people to watch to the end.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of the point, right? I want them to watch the entire video
Yeah.
to see the whole house.
Well, I would think too that the goals of these videos to obviously display who you are, but it shows the authenticity of who you are.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't come off rehearsed and you do see like, oh, that person made a mistake like I did.
And
Oh
she's
my
still
God.
going with it.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. And, it shows me and it shows the house because I want to market the house for the client. And so if they're incentivized to see the whole video, that helps.
Yeah.
But what you don't see in the video, you don't see my family. I don't put my family in the video.
Sure.
I have an older son, right? He's 23 now. So if I had a little, cute little child, right? I'd bring my baby in the video,
Sure.
my little toddler or whatever, but I don't have one of those.
Sure.
So I don't do that. And I have a cat, so I can't take my cat with me. But if I had a dog, I could take my dog with me.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So my cat and my young adult son, they don't show up in my videos. And I have a nice family life. My husband, he doesn't come in the videos either. So that part of me.
It's like a separation of church and state.
Pretty
We've
much.
got, yeah,
Pretty much.
absolutely.
Sue and family.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope.
I totally understood.
Absolutely.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you. So obviously your videos have a very humorous side. There's an interesting style to them. Can you tell us kind of like the evolution of where it started and kind of where you've come to now? Like what was that process like on kind of finding your way in this kind of new field for you?
Sure. I think when I first started, I would literally take it and type it out,
Sure.
and I would try to, hide the prop, and I would read what I wanted to say. Well, that was awful, right? It came out as it just was awful.
Sure.
It was just
For lack of a better word, it was awful.
just awful.
Yeah, sure.
So that didn't last very long. And, and I would have a tripod in front of me and I would try to do it. And I would do it all by myself because I couldn't have anybody watching me do it because nobody could see me do this because it was awkward.
Yeah.
And then, then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to try to type it out. I'm just going to just wing it. And those actually came out better. I know what I'm talking about, right? I know the property. I know what I'm talking about. And I was more relaxed when I was doing it that way.
Yeah.
And then when I got my helper, when I got Chloe, she helped me relax even more and it became a lot more fun. And then, she'll follow me around with the camera so that the videos look more natural. So you can see the evolution of me just standing there and talking and versus, now I'm moving around in the video. And I just did one today and I had, Chloe was sick today.
Yeah.
So I had my photographer who was photographing the property, I had her help me with it. And if it works, there's going to be two of me in the same screen on the video and I'm going to be talking to myself.
That's awesome.
And I really hope it works because now I'm talking to you about
Sure,
it. The pressure's on.
Like, so yeah, that's awesome.
So if it doesn't work, we're going to have to try a retake.
But I'd imagine that that's the kind of creativity that you don't necessarily get with everyone that's doing this kind of stuff. It's kind of thinking of these out of the box ideas and seeing what works.
Yep. And I got this idea from an ad online, and it was an iPhone photography school ad. And I'm like, I don't need to get their course. I can see what they're doing, and I, figure that out. Yeah. But I was like, and their example was way different, but I just applied it to my situation. I'm like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
There's going to be two of me in this video.
The creativity just oozes out of this conversation here. Yeah. So I love it. I love hearing that.
And it's a duplex, right? So it's like, what's better than one cute apartment in the city? Two cute apartments in the city. Let's go see this duplex.
A perfect marriage of medium and idea. Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's the perfect property for it. So now the pressure's on. It has to work.
we're gonna will this into existence here. I like that. So kind of touching on that a little bit, and this may be a perfect segue for it. How do you decide what to highlight in your video tours? I'd imagine like each property comes with its own set of highlights and maybe things that you don't necessarily want to highlight. Are there trends that you're seeing that are really selling with people right now?
First of all, I don't know anything about trends.
Okay. Neither do I. So we're on the same footing there. So.
I don't follow trends. Chloe does sometimes help me find some trends, but I don't follow trends. I just do what I do. And I also don't think I set the trends either. I just do what I do.
Sure.
But when I looked at a property to highlight things, obviously I want to highlight the pretty things in the property. I want to highlight what's beautiful inside, and I want to highlight what's beautiful outside. And then we also have to, talk about, well, I don't have to talk about it, but it can be in like the listing, in the write-up on the post, how many bedrooms and bathrooms and those types of features. Because when you're looking at the video, you see the pretty things, but you also want to read the statistics about it. And if there's not so beautiful things, I don't have to put those in the video. Because the video is to get people interested in it, right? And then they can go to the listing online and see all of the pictures, because all of the pictures, show the whole property.
Sure.
And then the property disclosures are going to contain everything, all of the warts that the property has.
Sure. So actually, it's interesting that these questions are maybe I plan these questions to be back to back like this, but kind of coupled on that point is like one of the things that we talked about in our pre-production was the dichotomy is obviously you have like your opinions on properties, and you see a lot of properties, kind of in the ins and outs of them, but you also have buyers that have their own preferences that may not necessarily align with those opinions. So what's the balance between like sharing facts about a property but not necessarily imposing your views so that to kind of taint the view of the buyer? What's that like?
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. And I learned that early on. I had several memorable examples of new agent Sue had some opinions and she shared them and she probably shouldn't have.
Sure.
I walked into this gorgeous old home, right? And it needed everything top to bottom renovated.
Sure.
And so I said that. And the people I was showing the house to, and I actually sold them another house. I didn't sell them this one, but I ended up selling them another one.
Mm-hmm.
We went in there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much work.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, yeah, that's what we want to do. And I was like, oops.
Yeah, sure.
Put my foot in my mouth, right? So then there was another instance where we went into a home and it had like old shaggy carpet. And I was like, oh, this carpet should probably be replaced. Oh, we love the carpet. I was like, oops. So, that's not a fact, right? That's my opinion that that carpet needs to be replaced. So I don't talk about that anymore.
Sure.
I just listen and I let them tell me their thoughts and feelings on it. And we talk about facts only.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see how one person's preferences may not be another person's preferences.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
that stories illustrate that perfectly. Yep. Have you noticed a direct impact on sales from creating video content for your listings? And
Oh, absolutely. This year, I did a little report. 38% of my business has come from my social media.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yep.
And so, I mean, my next question was, how has social media helped you promote your listings and grow your business? But it sounds like right there, that the sales are coming directly from your social media.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my business is on track to grow by 50% this year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I attribute that to my social media.
You and I have kind of, obviously, we referenced pre-production, so we had an opportunity to chat a little bit.
Yep.
You've told me some fun and interesting stories about your experiences filming your listing videos. Mm-hmm. Is there one or two that you can share with the viewers? And so what are some of the funny stories that you have kind of filming these videos?
Sure. I can think of one filming a video. I was doing an open house.
Yep.
And a couple came in and they said, we watched your listing video and we kept watching it over and over and over. And it was a listing video where there was a secret door in the basement. And they wanted to see where the secret door was. And I said, well, let's go see it. So I went down to go show them the secret door in the basement. And I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you and I obviously had a great conversation before we met today, and you shared some really funny stories about things that you've encountered and just showing properties and to buyers and whatnot. Yep. Can you share with our viewers some of those stories that you think might resonate with them out there?
Absolutely. I've got tons of stories, but here's a great one. I was showing in a rural community, and this was actually a Zoom showing, and I had prepped my client beforehand, so she knew because I was told beforehand. There was a farm animal in the house. The farm animal lived in the house. This farm animal is not supposed to live in the house. So I've got my, and I'm like, we're not going to talk about this while we're doing the Zoom showing because the owner's going to be there. This farm animal has some issues and they had to lead the farm animal to different rooms because we could not see each other. So this whole thing. So we're doing the Zoom showing and I could see marks on the wall where the animal had done its thing to the wall, and I could smell the bleach on the floor where they had cleaned up, right? So they were really trying to keep the house clean, but there was definitely evidence of the animal in the house. So that was really interesting and really strange. And then so we get outside, and then there's like a barn. So we go out to the barn, and there's geese, and it was, late fall, and I had really tall boots on that laced up, and those geese they unlaced my boots. I was like, okay. So then I got into the car, right, and I drove away, and I called up my client, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is what happened, right? Did you see the marks on the wall? I tried to point my Zoom camera to them.
Sure.
And, I could smell the bleach. I couldn't tell you that while we were in the house, right? Because I wanted to be respectful.
Yeah,
to the
sure,
owner.
yeah.
But she didn't buy that house with a farm animal in the house.
The fun things you encounter out on the job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did not expect to see a farm animal in the house.
Oh, funny. Obviously, we talked a little bit about when you started your realty career, obviously pre-pandemic in 2019, but, majority of your realty career has kind of taken place through the course of COVID, and we're still not out of it yet. So I would be interested, just your professional perspective on, I would willing to bet everyone's been affected in some degree professionally by COVID. What kind of ways has COVID affected the realty profession, and what kind of, like, either for the better or for the worse, or how has COVID impacted your profession?
Well, we've seen a lot of people moving from out of Maine into Maine. People want to be rural. We've seen an increase in, like I was talking about, Zoom showings. This was a pandemic showing, the farm animal. Lots of Zoom showings. So it really made us up our game in learning how to deal with all of this new technology. Like, we didn't know what Zoom showings were before the pandemic. So now we can do that. So that really has increased our sight unseen, how we show houses using Zoom. It takes some of the personalization away because it's harder to make a relationship with a client through a Zoom phone call. I love making relationships with my clients. Even now, sometimes my clients don't see the house or me in person until closing, or even after closing. They do all of the work, all of the documents, the signing through the mail, and then they come up afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
then, and then I'll have dinner with them, or I'll have lunch with them after they get here, and we meet that time.
One thing you mentioned to me earlier too, kind of in conjunction with COVID, was the need to maybe be. We talked about facts and trying to list out all the facts over the Zoom call, because they're not able to see all the kind of the eccentricities of a property or something.
Absolutely. Yep. I remember there was one house I showed in particular. The staircase was narrow. So, I have big feet. So I'll point the camera to my feet and I'll say, this is what my size 10 shoe looks like on the staircase, to give them a reference, right? Because everybody kind of knows what that looks like.
Yeah.
We have small staircases. This is what the door jamb looks like. We have small ceilings. I'm 5'8", and I point the camera at me. Here's what I look like inside the house. If you're really tall, this isn't going to work. If you're not really tall, this is what it looks like at my height.
Sure.
Are you going to be comfortable here? I'll walk through the house and I'll tell them, is the floor squeaky? Is it unlevel? I'll tell them about everything I smell, because houses will have smells. Because they're not there. And so my goal when I'm showing a house with a Zoom showing is to not sell them the house. And I tell them that, I'm brutal. If you want to buy this house after we're done looking at it with a Zoom showing, great. Now we're going to get an inspection. And then I want them to choose their home inspector, not me. So they know that I have nothing to do with the results of the inspection.
Sure.
And then, hopefully they're going to feel really good about it at that point.
That thoroughness has got to be super helpful for the buyer. Amazing.
Hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
One thing that really stood out to me when we first spoke about this project was the amount of care and passion that you have for your clients. It oozed out of you when you talked about this is why you do what you do. Can you share what it means to you to accomplish goals for your clients? Like how much care you put into the projects and the people that you work with?
Sure. I love working with my clients, helping them achieve their dream home or moving so they can move on to their next dream stage of their lives. One of my favorite things to do is to call them up and to tell them, hey, do you want to live at 123 Main Street? Yay, you got the house. And there's been just happy dances on the phones. We scream, we laugh, we cry. We actually cry on the phone together because they're just so happy. It's one of my favorite things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you just can't describe the emotions involved when you help people reach those goals.
Yeah, I was just, it's funny that you use those words, because my next question was, can you describe the emotion? But can you just, I guess maybe a bit redundant, but what's the feeling like when you achieve something that maybe be difficult, or there's challenges that people are facing, and you're able to alleviate some of those issues for them and make them, kind of have that worry taken out of their lives? Yeah,
it's the most rewarding thing ever. Because I have helped them accomplish that goal.
Sure.
It is absolutely the most rewarding thing ever.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I can certainly tell just in the bit of time that we've known each other that is true. As we wrap up here, Sue, can you tell the viewers, a little bit about why, if they're looking for a realtor or looking for somebody to help them either with their buying or selling, why should they consider Sur Roberts when they're making that decision?
Sure. I have great knowledge of the market. I like to think I'm fun to work with. I'm very professional, very organized. And if you've seen me on social media, if you're seeing me here, you probably have an idea of what I'm going to be like to work with, and we'll probably do well together.
Awesome. So thank you again, Sue. This has been great getting to know you and hearing about your passion and the skills and really what has brought you to this place and what's brought you to success here in Bangor.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been such a pleasure. And thank you to all of our viewers that are watching this right now. Whether you've subscribed to our channel or whether this is your first time, if this is your first time, please hit subscribe so you can see more content as it populates and come back for more great Meet the Pros and more content here on Wicked Good Property. Until next time, take care.